Imagine this. A person gets into a serious accident. There is bleeding, maybe a fracture. It's a critical situation. Within minutes, an ambulance arrives, and inside the ambulance are trained professionals, paramedics, who immediately start giving first aid. They will control the bleeding, they will stabilize the patient, etc. First of all, I pray that Almighty God protect all of us. But I think this was the best example that I can quote here to understand this topic. Now, just like this, here's something very fascinating inside your body that is happening. Your body has its own version of this emergency response. But instead of ambulances and paramedics, your body uses microscopic cells. And the first responders, the ambulance service of your body, is provided by neutrophils. Right? They arrive first whenever any accident is happening inside your body. Right? Whenever there is an accidental situation, a pathogen has entered in your body, neutrophils are part of your innate immunity. Right? Innate immunity means you have two types of immunity, right? You have innate immunity and acquired immunity. The immunity that you are born with is innate immunity, right? The immunity that I would say you don't, the type of immunity that you don't need any kind of education for, right? That's the most simplest definition I can give you. Innate immunity, the immunity that you are born with, right? It has the first line of defense and the second line of defense are part of innate immunity, and the third line of defense is your acquired immunity. Fourth line of defense is like different. Third line of defense is a part of your acquired immunity that you acquire in your lifetime. For example, a pathogen has entered inside your body, and you have developed immunity against that pathogen, right? So the immunity that you have acquired after your birth in your lifetime is acquired immunity. Neutrophils are part of your innate immunity, meaning they act immediately when injury or infections occurs. They don't wait. They don't need a prior exposure. They just respond, right? So that's you know makes a question here, right? A sensible question. Why? Why neutrophils are first to arrive at the site of infection? Why not any other leukocyte? Right? So today we are going to decode this. Now, there are multiple reasons why neutrophils are the first to arrive at the site of infection, but I'm going to give you, the main first and the most I think the most logical reason that we can quote here is high abundance. Is high abundance. Let me just correct the spelling. High abundance, right? That's the most logical answer of this question. High abundance, because they are already present everywhere. They will of course respond instantly. Our body, neutrophils make up about 60 to 70% of all white blood cells inside your body, right? Because of their high abundance, because they are already present everywhere, so they will respond immediately. Now, why they are abundant, right? Why not any other leukocyte that is abundant? We are going to uncover this at the end of this video as well. The second most important reason is rapid movement. Rapid movement. Just imagine this. Paramedics are there are two teams of paramedics. One team is in Lamborghini, and the other team is in a van like the original or the in their simple ambulance. What do you think? Which team will arrive first? Of course, the team A, because it has Lamborghini, right? It has fast it has fast transporter, right? But of course, that's another that's another question, which team is will be effective, because the team that is in Lamborghini will not be able to carry, a lot of equipment with with themselves. Of course, while the team B, that is in their simple ambulance, will be carrying all the essential things that they require, right? So team B will be more effective, but they will arrive late. Team A will arrive first, but they will be not that effective, right? And to be honest, if you are in an accidental situation, you will call for team B, not team A, right? So that's something else. But because of the rapid movement, because neutrophils are able to move from point A to point B rapidly, right? They can move quickly. Why? Because of their highly flexible internal structure, the cytoskeleton. Their cytoskeleton dynamics is highly adopted. Their cytoskeleton is highly adopted, and it helped them to move from point A to point B. They are very motile. How neutrophils move? With the help of pseudopodia, right? With the help of pseudopodias, they can, as you can see in this video, this is how neutrophils are moving. Neutrophils move from point A to point B. They invaginate and they make, finger-like projection of their cytoplasm, right? And that finger-like projection is called pseudopodia, and in this way they can move from point A to point B. Pseudopodia means false foot, right? False foot or false feet, I don't know, just a structure that help them to move from point A to point B, right? So because of this rapid, because of cytoskeleton dynamics, they can move from point A to point B, and because they have rapid movement, this allows them to crawl and change shape as they move toward the infection. That's the second reason. The third important reason is chemotaxis. Is chemotaxis. The ability to pick up the call is just like the ability to pick up the call. In accidental situation, you and your friends, they are standing around the around that area, and you are calling another ambulance service. Your friend is calling some another ambulance service, and your another friend is calling someone else for help, right? Among these three callers, right, that are calling for the ambulance or for help, right? The ambulance service, what kind of ambulance service will be good at this particular moment? The kind of ambulance service that will respond immediately, right? That will pick up your call immediately, right? So chemotaxis is just like this, picking up the call, knowing that this is the area in which where infection has arrived, where pathogen has arrived, right, where antigen has arrived, and you have to come here and treat this area. You have to come here and destroy this foreign particle, whatever that is entered inside your body. That's chemotaxis. Strong attraction to signals. When tissues are damaged, they release chemical signals. This is called chemotaxis. As you can see in this diagram, for example, a chemotaxis source is releasing some chemicals, some cytokines, right, that are released everywhere, right, 360 degree from to away from this chemotactic source. Now, here's an important thing: the concentration of this chemotactic factor is greater near the source, right, which governs the unidirectional movement of white blood cells, which governs the unidirectional movement of neutrophils, and of course other white blood cells as well. Chemotaxis is effective. This is very important. Chemotaxis is effective up to 100 micrometers away from an inflamed tissue. For example, this is blood, and this is the tissue that has damaged, and it is releasing chemotaxis 360-degree away from this target. You know, chemo, and this signal is effective up to 100 micrometers. 100 micrometers, right? 100 micrometers, right? This chemotactic source is effective up to 100 micrometers away from the inflamed tissue. Since almost no tissue area is more than 100 micrometer away from the capillary, the chemotactic signal can easily orders and give signal to white blood cells from the capillary into the inflamed tissue. So there is not even a single tissue that is away from this from the tissue uh, more than 100 micrometer. So again, because of this chemotaxis, they it is an important thing, right, in attracting the white blood cells towards the inflamed area, towards the accidental area, towards the area that has injured, right? And this attraction, neutrophils are extremely sensitive to these type of signals, especially in the early phase, right? So they are strongly attracted and guided straight to the inflection site, and they move very fast. If I talk about in numbers, then in Guyton, Guyton physiology, the speed of neutrophils is 40 micrometer per minute, and that's extremely great. A distance as great as their own length each minute, right? So this is something that is very you know great. So that was our third reason. The fourth reason is also very important. Neutrophils, remember what we have discussed in the previous video. We discussed that there are two type of white blood cells: agranulocytes and granulocytes. We uncovered this, why we need two type of white blood cells inside your body. So we talked about this, that neutrophils are type of granular white blood cells, meaning to say their cytoplasm has little granules. And what are present inside these granules, right? We have enzymes, we have toxic chemicals, we have proteases, we have some other chemicals that when degranulation will occur, when neutrophils will release these granules, they will immediately, right, they will, because they are pre-synthesized, right? Neutrophils has already synthesized these enzymes. Why? Because neutrophils are part of innate immunity, right? They are already they don't need any specific response, right? Second line of defense is non-specific, right? It does not need a specific response. So neutrophils has already pre-made things inside the cytoplasm that they will, it's just like, all right, all right, all right, I have whatever question. It's very funny, but for example, you have prepared 3 questions for your exams, right? And there are more than 50 questions that teacher can ask inside your in your examination, in your exam, right? But you have just prepared 3 questions, and maybe these 3 questions that you have prepared, maybe teacher wouldn't ask anything from from these 3 questions, but you have said to yourself, whatever the question will the teacher will ask from me, or the teacher will give me, I will just answer these 3. This is just like this. So neutrophils have granules, right, that they will release whatever pathogen, no matter whatever pathogen has entered, right? And that's one of the reason why we need granulocytes, right? So the fourth reason is related to these granules: ability to break through barriers. Ability to break through barriers. Oh, All right, ability to break through barriers. If something block their path, for example, neutrophils are moving. All right, they are moving, and because they have very rapid movement. So just imagine neutrophils are sitting inside Lamborghini, you know, um, and they are moving towards the infected area because of chemotaxis, the real unidirectional movement, right? How unidirectional movement is provided? Because the concentration of the chemotaxis source is greater when you move towards the chemotactic area, right, and less when you move away. See, so neutrophils are sitting inside a Lamborghini and they are moving very fast, right? And Lamborghini is what is the cytoskeleton dynamic inside the neutrophils. Something blocks their path. Neutrophils don't stop. They release enzymes, proteases, toxic substances, degranulation occur that help them break through tissues and reach the target. That's the fourth. That's the fourth aura of neutrophils. That nothing can stop them. They have the ability to break through special barriers, or they have the ability to break through barriers. So nothing can stop them. They can whatever is blocking their path, they will release their granules. These granules will break through the tissue and reach the target, right? That's very special, and that's very motivational as well, right? If in your life something is blocking you, you just don't stop. You try to break through that block, right? Because you have to and you need to reach your target. So the fifth reason is also very important, is having a polymorpho nuclear polymorphonuclear nucleus. You know, this is a blood smear. These are, of course, red blood cells, RBCs. These small are platelets, thrombocytes, right? Thrombocytes, and these are our white blood cells, leukocytes. And what type of white blood cells are these? These all are neutrophils. These all are neutrophils. How neutrophils? Because neutrophils have, 3 to 4 lobular nucleus. As you can see here, this is one lobule, this is two lobule, this is three, and this is fourth lobule, right? So one, two, and three. This lobular nucleus is very important for neutrophils. One of the most unique features of neutrophils is their polymorphonuclear nucleus. This means, of course, the nucleus has multiple lobes, usually 2 to 5. With the help of Ernest count, this is Ernest count, we are able to study that, this is studied using something called Ernest count, right, which tells us how many lobes a neutrophil has. Most commonly, neutrophils has 3 lobes, meaning say trilobular neutrophils are the most abundant. As you can see, the trilobular nucleus, trilobular morphonuclear nucleus is most abundant in most neutrophils. This is studied with the help of Ernest count. Now, why this matters? Why having a lobular nucleus is important? As you have, this is the diagram. This is the tissue. You know, injured tissue. All right, and injured tissue is, it's sad because pathogen is entered. All right, now our body need to destroy this pathogen, and this is your blood. This is your blood, right? And these are your endothelial cells, endothelial cells of your blood, and these are at the these are blood. What kind of blood vessel is this? Of course, capillary. Of course, capillaries. Now, this is, of course, a basement membrane outside. outside the endothelial cells. Outside the basement membrane, we have you know in blood capillaries we have some pericytes. These pericytes help to maintain the integrity of the capillaries, and they help to support the capillaries. This is not our topic today. Just focus on how having a polymorphonuclear nucleus is important here. It is important because neutrophils perform something called diapedesis. Diapedesis. Diapedesis is when cells squeeze through tiny gaps between blood vessels to reach the site of infection. As you can see, this there is a tiny gap, intracellular gap between these two endothelial cells, and these neutrophils, these white blood cells, have to reach this tissue in this infected, sad tissue area, right? So in order to cross this very small area, very small gap between the endothelial cells, right? Neutrophils have a very flexible, multi-lobed nucleus. They can easily deform and pass through very narrow spaces. This is one of the reason, right, that why they arrive first. So why having a why having a polymorphic nucleus is important here? Because neutrophils need to perform diapedesis. Not just neutrophils, all the white blood cells can you know has to do this diapedesis process in order to reach this tissue area. But because we are specifically dealing with neutrophils here, and neutrophils are the most abundant white blood cells, that's why we are just talking about neutrophils here. And because of this polymorphonuclear, right, they can easily squeeze through this tiny gap, right? Just imagine a cell that has a big nucleus, big spherical nucleus, right? It will take time, right? It will take time to cross this very small gap, right? It's just like if you have a tiny car and if you have a big car. If you have a tiny car, right, then you can easily then even a small parking spot is good for you, right? Of course, park. I know. It's very stupid to say this, but I know all the parking spots all are almost the equally spaced, are almost equally spaced. But just imagine, right? Just imagine another universe, another dimension, another Earth. They designed the parking area according to car sizes. Yeah, so a small car has a small parking area and a big car has a big parking area, right? So a big car has to but the thing is, a small car can even be parked in the big car area, but a big car cannot be parked in the small car area. You understand what I'm trying to say? So in the same way, having a polymorphonuclear help polymorphonuclear nucleus help neutrophils to squeeze through this tiny gap and to do this diapedesis process. This is one of the reason. Now, if your next question will be, if having this means more loops, right? More lobular nucleus, more flexibility. So that, for example, pentalobular neutrophils must be the most abundant neutrophils that are present in your body. Why we have trilobular nucleus as the most abundant? If this is the concept, that more loops, more flexibility, more easily they can cross, more easily they can do diapedesis. So why pentalobular nucleus of neutrophils is not abundant? The reason is that neutrophils achieve this lobular nucleus in their lifetime. Meaning to say, this must be newest, youngest, neutrophil, and this must be most oldest neutrophil. right? This must be most oldest nucleus, neutrophil. Now the thing is, neutrophils have a very short life, all right, and they can achieve this lobular nucleus in their lifetime, right? In their in the course of their life, right? So only the trilobular neutrophils, they are the most abundant because they after this trilobular nucleus, a pathogen, maybe a pathogen just enters your body, and neutrophils were you know about to move to from the trilobular nucleus to tetralobular nucleus, but because a pathogen has entered, the pathogen neutrophils degranulation occur, and neutrophils, because neutrophils and the pathogen had a fight, and neutrophil died, right? And the pathogen of course also dies. So that's one of the reason why we don't have pentavalent pentalobular nucleus as the most abundant, because most neutrophils die, and because lobular nucleus is achieved in their lifetime, right? The more older you are, the more loops you have, right? And also it is an indicator, like in when you have megaloblastic anemia, right? Meaning, so you, when your RBCs are very large, right? When you see your CBC report and MCV value is large, right? Going um, I'm not going to give you whole detail, but due to some reasons, your RBCs are large, right? They are more bigger than they should be. So this is megaloblastic anemia, one of the type of anemia, and it is because of folic acid or mostly vitamin B12 deficiency. Now, in this megaloblastic anemia, the neutrophils are, they have multilobular nucleus, right? So it's when you see the blood smear of a megaloblastic anemia person, right? So you see, you just not only see the red blood cells that are very large, but you also see neutrophils having multilobular neutrophils inside the neutrophils, right? That's one of the characteristic of megaloblastic anemia. So last question: why neutrophils are the most abundant white blood cells inside your body? The reasons, these all are the reasons, right? Because whenever a pathogen enters inside your body, these are the attributes that our most abundant white blood cells should have, so that they arrive first at the site of infection. That's why neutrophils are the most abundant. Just forget about part number one, because yeah, these are the reasons why neutrophils are the most abundant, because they have to arrive first at the site of infection. Right? So yeah, that was the topic. See you in the next video.